Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night Talk with Executive Director Lee Reed. I am Melissa Jean Baptiste, the Communication Specialist. And if this is your first time listening in on our podcast today, I'm going to go ahead and take it over to our Executive Director Lee, and he'll give us a brief explanation on the ACRB, who we are, and what we do.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much. I'm Lee Reed, as Melissa said, the Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. And for those who do not know, the Atlanta Citizen Review Board is an independent investigative agency of the city of Atlanta. We are authorized to receive, investigate, adjudicate, mediate complaints against Atlanta police or corrections officers. And those complaints are complaints that citizens will file if they have a concern or question about the actions of an officer. The agency's been around since 2007, 2008. It opened its doors, and it opened its doors as a result of the killing of Miss Catherine Johnson, who was 92 years old when she was killed during an illegal no-knock warrant raid by Atlanta police officers. We accept about 15 different types of allegations. So if you ever have a question or concern about the actions of an Atlanta police and corrections officer, file the complaint. You don't have to question about it. You don't have to wonder if the officer violated the policy. File it with us so that we can determine what happened and get you the result that you need, and that's the result that's just for the citizen and the officer.
Right. So with us today, we have two of our board members joining the podcast. We have Ms. Dorthey Hurst and Tamara Orange. Dorthey was appointed to the board by the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, Neighborhood Planning Unit, representing NPU M-R. The Atlanta City Council confirmed her nomination on August 17th, 2020 for a 3-year term, and Ms. Hurst took oath of office August 26th of 2020. Ms. Tamara Orange was appointed to the board by the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. Ms. Orange was sworn in as a member of the ACRB on May 15th, 2017. We're so glad that you ladies could join us today. And I know you all would just give like a brief introduction if you can.
But before that, okay. I want to just say, before we went on, we had a rendition of "I'm So Excited" by one of our board members. I'm not going to put it on the spot right now, but that sums up how I feel right now. I'm so excited to have you on the board on this podcast today, because one of the things that we notice quite often when we're out in the community, people want to know who's making those decisions about their complaints. Who is it? I mean, they see us as staff, but they want to know, who are these individuals? And today, everybody, we have two of our outstanding board members who are going to have this conversation with us, and we'll just share their thoughts about what it's like to be on the board and what it means to be on the board. With that, we're going to kick off with the introductions, as Melissa was getting to, before I rudely interrupted. Sorry about that, Melissa. But let's go on and get started with a brief introduction. Just who are you, Dorthey, and who are you, Tamara?
Well, Dorthey Hurst. I am a downtown resident. Been downtown since 2001. Very, very active in the community. ACRB is a board that I'm on, but I also do a whole lot more advocacy in the community, including public safety in my community. I believe in accountability. People that either work for us or are elected for us, they should be accountable to us. And that's who I am. Now, I could tell you why I came to the ACRB, but that's just kind of a little bit of my, anyone that knows me knows that accountability is my middle name. I have no middle name, but I've added accountability.
Well, we're going to get to that in a moment, about why you came to the ACRB.
Okay.
Tamara, Share it with us.
Well, I am Tamara Orange, and what about me? Well, I'm a retired warrant supervisor for the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office. I've spent my entire life in community, civil rights, human rights, anything along that nature. And as far as, anything about me, I love people. And my basic thought process in life is to make sure that everybody is treated right. And that, kind of got me in trouble a little bit as being a supervisor, because of course the head wants you to put their vision ahead. But, my viewpoint was you got to make sure that people are being treated right. And that's how I feel, whether it be a citizen, law enforcement officer, detention officer, whatever the case may be, everybody deserves to be treated fairly.
I hear that now, and we understand that you also, your legacy to this, to go into this about equality and about making sure that civil rights are addressed, and your legacy stems from whom?
From my dad and my mom, as a matter of fact, but them
Yes.
both. Yes, it stems
All
from
right.
them.
And your dad's name?
Reverend James Orange.
All right. All right. All right. So now, Dorthey, you started talking about accountability, and then you mentioned, well, what inspired you to want to be on this board? So let's kick off with that question, and then we're gonna go to you, Tamara. What inspired you to say, hey, I want to be on this ACRB board?
Well, several years ago, I was walking downtown, not too far from where I live, and I ran into an officer, Zone 5, and something was going on. It was an ordinance that I saw that was being violated. So I engaged the officer and asked him to take care of it. He was not enthusiastic about it. As a matter of fact, he didn't do it. So I asked for his name, and I went to take a picture of his name. I didn't want his face. I just wanted his name tag. And he didn't want me to do it. Well, the thing that he did not know was that I knew my rights. I wasn't going to take one of his face, but I could take one of his name and of his badge. So I did take it, and I reported him to his supervisor, to the commander of Zone 5, about his lack of enthusiasm, about not wanting to take care of the ordinance, the fact that he did not want me to take a picture of his tag, of his name, and they wrote him up. Now, I read ordinances, I read code. The average citizen don't do that. I work, half of what I do on the public safety side is I work with the police. So I know a lot about what goes on, and I know code, I know ordinances. If I did not know that, I would have walked away angry with the police. I didn't walk away. I held him accountable. Well, I didn't, at that time I had too much going on, and I don't have time for the ACRB, but I can remember having a conversation about the ACRB at that particular time. And I said, well, I'm gonna have to table it. I can't bring it in yet because something has to go for me to bring it in, but it is something that I wanna do because I believe that there is an accountability here. So when I did have time, I brought it in because, you see, I believe that I support APD. I really do support them, but I also believe that they should be accountable. And I think you can have both because they both are something different. You can support the police and you can still hold them accountable. And that's what I do. And that's what I believe.
Thank you, Dorthey. Tamara, what brought you and inspired you to want to be on the ACRB board, be a member of the board?
Mr. Reed, I'm really going to be honest with you and everybody that's listening. Prior to being approached by Ms. Helen Butler, who is the executive director of the Georgia's Coalition of the People's Agenda, I didn't know anything about the ACRB. And I think that's probably because, you know, I was caught up in life. My personal, I mean, you know, I worked and I got ill and I was going through these disabilities. But don't get me wrong, I was very, very, very much aware of the situation with Miss Catherine Johnston. I was also, you know, aware of how, you know, the law enforcement side may have felt because, like I said, I worked in warrants, so I kind of am familiar with how warrants are processed and executed. But once I was approached, because I was in my retired state, it gave me the opportunity to combine my community activism and my background in criminal justice and serve in a way that I never thought that was possible. Because, I mean, you know, being able to sit on a board like this and review complaints that citizens bring against the police. I mean, this is like, to me, this is a powerful position to actually be in because we have a voice. It's giving us a voice. And with that voice, you know, we can actually affect change. And that in itself is what really drove me to, you know, wanting to be on the ACRB. It's not nothing fluff or nothing, you know, kind of light. If, oh, well, I ain't got nothing else to do, so I might as well. No, this is not it. This is something that if you're going to do it, you really got to put a lot of effort into the ACRB.
You know, Tamara, I'm glad you brought that up because to the casual observer, you know, the thought is that, okay, you get on these city boards, you come in, you mess around for a few minutes or an hour or two, and then you go home and you're pretty much done. You know, it's nice, but it's, you know, like you said, some people think it's just fluff.
Right.
You know, when you, and this to both of you, when you both joined the board, what did you realize most about this board being different than a lot of other experiences? You touched on it earlier about the work, but what was it that you realized, you know, that you think the citizens should know about the board, about the work of the board, the work of the agency? You know, like how much work do you have to put in? What is it? You just get up, you come to the board meeting and just throw up decisions, or what does it take?
You want me to go first or Ms.
Yeah, you can go to start and then we'll go back to the thing.
It's when I say it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of training. I mean, and we get a lot of information. The training to me is one of the best things about it. I mean, yeah, we may have to, you know, do something outside of, you know, the normal monthly board meeting and the normal reading of the cases. But I think the training is so beneficial and it allows us to take information back to the people who appoint us, our reporting entities. And what else about it? The work. I mean, when I look at some of those cases, the work that the actual ACRB and investigators have to put into, where they actually take the reports, they go word for word as to what the people that they're interviewing say. It's the amount of effort, and I don't really think people realize how much effort is really put into the ACRB, because like myself, not knowing about the ACRB, people didn't really know that there was an ACRB until last summer, when all of the riots, or not so much the protests erupted in downtown. People didn't know about the ACRB, and it was in existence, and they don't really know how much effort is put into it. And it's a lot of effort that is put into actually going out doing community outreach, because I see y'all all the time, and I am constantly begging people, okay, we have this ACRB. If you have a problem, please come to the ACRB. And it's just a lot of work. That's what I really want people to understand. This is not nothing, I don't want people to want them to get the impression that it's, heavy or it's a career, but it is not anything. If you just want to coast through it, this ain't for you.
Mhm. Thank you, Tamara. Dorthey, so the question to you, same question.
Well, I've been on several boards for the city, and and I was chair of the Human Relation Board. So that board would be a little bit closer to a little bit more heavy lifting, but nothing compared to this. This is like a crane. That one was like a truck. Okay. So, as Tamara was saying, just one case in coming up was a little over 150 pages. Just one case, and we got 4 cases that we had to read. Now, it's not just a reading, because once you get through, there may be, and our investigators do a wonderful job. I mean, an absolutely wonderful job. But even as they do a wonderful job, I'm very detailed. I have questions sometimes. So I call the investigators and I want to know more. It's not that I want to know more. I need to clarify information that I've read. So we spend time on clarifications. I take notes so that when I come to the board meetings, because in one case, you could have up to 4 or 5 allegations on one case. So if you don't take notes, you're going to come to a board meeting unprepared. And that's the worst thing that you can do for the officer and the person who made the complaint, is come to a board meeting unprepared, especially when there's more than one complaint. But even if it's just one complaint, you want to be prepared. So I take notes to make sure that I know what each allegation is for that particular case. And, at the end of the day, when you come to the board meetings, you want to be involved. You want to make sure that your vote counts. And sometimes in the discussions, there's discussions, and sometimes your discussion is your vote. So I just want people to know there is heavy lifting, there's training, but the board put in an excessive amount of work before they sit before a board meeting to actually sit there and talk about the cases and render a decision. And then in some cases, if it's sustained, then render a decision about what the next step is going to be.
So, excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me. You just mentioned about the work and the decision and if it's sustained or not. Every now and then you get a question from somebody and say, well, the citizen board, they're there for the citizens to make sure that the citizens, officers held accountable. But yet some of the decisions come out as, not sustained, which means, you couldn't decide one way or the other. So citizens have concerns about that, or the officers exonerate. From a board member perspective, how do you make those decisions about whether something should be sustained or not sustained or exonerated or impounded? Is it based on what's in the file? Is it based on how you personally feel about the complaint? Is it based on, oh, I think I know this officer, or I live in this area? How do you get to that point where you say, this is the decision that I'm making on this complaint, on this investigation? Dorothy,
Well,
we can start with you and take it back to Tamara.
okay. Okay. So we follow the evidence. And the evidence is based upon, there's testimony that comes in from what the complainant is said. There's testimony that comes in from what the officers have said. Then there's the body cameras. We look at that. Then there's if there's other information out there that is pertinent. It could be body-worn camera from another person or testimony from another person. All of that wraps in. It could be that if the evidence doesn't show, so once you look at all of that evidence, we're not looking at whether we like the officer or whether we like the person that complained. It's not a personality contest. It comes down to following the evidence and making a decision based upon the evidence. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the evidence for one officer in one case equals the same officer in the next case if it comes up, and those cases are similar or identical. We follow the evidence.
Okay, thank you. Tamara, you have anything to add with that about how you get to that point of making a decision?
Absolutely. In addition to the evidence, what I like to look at as well is the policy. What does the APD policy and the City of Atlanta policy dictate? Because a lot of times, the evidence may not be what I like to see, but if it's in line, if it falls in line with whatever APD's policy is, then a lot of times we have to make decisions based on that. And if it's a policy that, we don't feel it's either clear or should be amended for, whatever the mitigating circumstances may be, then we can make those suggestions to the City of Atlanta Police Department.
I'm glad you brought that up,
Thanks,
Tamara, because that's a powerful tool. Because every case that you all look at and that the investigators investigate, we're always looking at policy. That is what guides the officer's actions. And if we see policies that are not clear, or policies that do not serve citizens the best, it makes it troublesome for the officers to get in to abide by, we do make those recommendations. And I think that's something that citizens have to or if citizens have a concern about policies, raise it up to us so that we can research the policy, check around with other departments to see what type of policies they're using, so so that we can make recommendations for other policies, for better policies, that will be able to serve the citizens better, So I know that what we're looking at, Melissa, for the time check.
We're at 5 minutes. We're good. We're going.
Okay, good. So when we think about it, okay, so we talked about a couple of things here. What would, if you had a message for the citizens out there, right? The citizen who's saying, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but you're still a part of the city. You still got it, looking out for the officers. And I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it. What would you say to them? What would you say to them? Give your appeal to them to say, hey, look, come on, it's here for you. It's here for you.
I would say you have a voice. That is the most important thing that I've gotten from this board, is that if you're a citizen that lives in Atlanta, or if you come through Atlanta, I mean, it doesn't matter. If you have an encounter that you don't feel was correct, you have a voice. And by not participating with this board, you're limiting our voices on behalf of you. So I think it's very, very important that, the citizenry, get more comfortable and know that this is a safe space for them to voice their concerns and complaints in regards to any City of Atlanta or Atlanta City Detention Corrections officers that they may have an issue with, or a negative encounter, or even maybe if they have a positive encounter. And, we want to pass that on, because that happens where we do have cases where the officers go above and beyond. So, you have a voice. That's what I want them to know.
About empowerment. That's
Right.
Right. Dorthey, what would you say?
I say one voice does make a difference. It starts with one voice. If you don't use your voice, you can never ever make a difference. And if you stay silent, then you contribute to the problem that you thought you had. So I say you've got to, it's kind of like you stand on a mountain and you use your voice and it creates an echo. Think of the ACRB as your echo. You create that voice, we become your echo. We are your echo. We take that voice and we spread it. We spread it to APD and we become your voice. So let us be that voice. If you never voice it, we don't know that you've got an issue.
And as Charles Curry likes to say, one of our community outreach specialists, be heard. Be heard. That's what it's all about. Be heard, not only for yourself, but for your community members. If there's a problem in the community with a policing issue, you have to be heard. Use that voice. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and talk to the citizens about your perspectives of being on the board. I'm excited about having you all on this show tonight, but more importantly on the board, because I definitely realize the work, and I just feel great about the work that you all do, and thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Thank you again. And that is our time for tonight. So we always want to make sure we let everyone attending know if you have a question or if you would like to file a complaint, you can send us a chat through our website. It's going to be www.acrbgov.org, or you can give us a call at 404-865-8622. We're also on social media. We're on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Instagram is back, everyone. So I know everyone on the podcast might not have taken such a big hit, but yesterday was like the end of the world for a few people.
I didn't notice it. I'm sorry.
But we're back up now, so you can definitely go and follow us. And if you are to see any of the other episodes that we have, we are now on episode number 7, Lee. We just wrapped up number 7 with Dorthey and Tamara, so thank you ladies for joining us. We also have a YouTube page, and you can find the playlist with all the rest of our podcasts on there. So I just want to thank you all again. I'm Melissa Jean Baptiste.
And I'm Lee Reed. And
I'm Dorthey Hurst.
And I am Tamara Orange.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, ladies.
Yes. We will talk to you all again in 2 weeks.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.